So what are some, I guess, signs, like for the people who are watching this and they want to become more self-aware, but maybe they're the people, you know, who you're talking about, but they don't recognize that that's them. What are some like red flags of things that people say to you and you're like, oh, yep, you probably need some healing? Like, what are some things that we just might not recognize?
To me, if you're holding on to very negative perceptions of things or people, you need to heal. Anyone who's healed can start to see the good that exists. It doesn't mean we're blind to the negativity and the toxic energy and everything out there, but we know good exists because now when you're healed, the good in you rises to the top. So if you know you're good, it's easier to believe someone else is good. But when you don't have that in you, if you have negativity dwelling within you, you're going to always see negative in other people. You know what I'm saying? So to me, yeah, negative perceptions, when people are extremely judgmental, all right, to me, that is a sign of you haven't healed. Again, healed, happy people don't go around trying to judge and condemn everybody, all right? That's not how, if anything, that person wants to stay away from drama, wants to stay away from all these extra negative confrontations. It doesn't mean they would have an issue expressing themselves, but they just don't engage in those things. So when you're so willing to engage in being negative and arguing and being judgmental, you're not healed. You got negative energy inside you that you haven't resolved. You know what I'm saying? And then the other thing is just, for me, it's not what they say. It's just an energy. It's just a spirit. If I'm in your presence and I feel this hardness, I feel this closed off. And I understand people want to say, oh yeah, but if you don't know someone, you're not going to automatically be open. I get that. I think there's a difference between being cautious and observing and being standoffish and afraid and walled up. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not knocking anyone for surveying the situation before they open themselves up, but a lot of people just have walls up.
So the people who say, you know, you see the Atlanta quotes, right? Like, it's no good men in Atlanta, it's no single men in Atlanta, it's no straight men in Atlanta. People who say those things, that would be like red flag for you, like this person needs healing or this person may just have a negative mindset. Like, is that what you mean or no?
No. So for those, I'm not going to automatically jump to they need healing because I think a lot of people have been brainwashed. You know, again, I remember when I first moved to Georgia, people were saying, and they still say it, oh, the ratio's 10 to 1. Ain't no damn 10 to 1 ratio. Like, look at the census data. It's like 1.1 something or 1.2 to 1. And then they say, oh, but men are gay and men in prison. Okay, there's gay women. There are women in prison. Y'all never discount those from the women's side. And then that whole statement, the premise is every woman in circulation is a good woman, but there's only a handful of good men. Yes, but there's only a handful of good men in the circulation of men who are available. That's not true.
So is that just a fear-based thing that women tell themselves to make themselves feel better about why they don't have the man that they're seeking?
Yes, it's fear-based. It's validation for why there's not success. It's easy to blame external forces as to why I'm not getting what I want, rather than to look myself in the mirror and accept maybe there's something that I need to do differently. You know, it's the same thing. And for anyone who feels some kind of way about that, it's like if a man came to you who was broke and not doing nothing with himself, he said, oh, there ain't no jobs out here. You'd be like, nah, bro, you're just not hustling. You're just not applying yourself correctly. And you're going the easy route by claiming the economy and job. And it doesn't mean that there isn't negative factors in those areas, but people who succeed don't give in to those negative thoughts.
Facts.
Plain and simple.
Facts. So a couple episodes ago, we had Steve Harvey's daughter here, Carly Harvey. Carly Harvey Raymond, let me put some respect on her husband's name, okay? And we talked about the 90-day rule, right? You know, Steve Harvey's book, his 90-day rule, you don't have sex with a man before 90 days. How do you feel about that rule in particular? And then what's your perspective on sex and dating?
Okay, so that rule in particular, I'm not a fan of specific rules like that. And don't get me wrong, I get it, because I guess you could argue some of the things that I teach are rules. I just think that hard deadline timelines like that they can be tricky because, okay, you may have been dating him for 90 days, but you don't know him in 90 days because you haven't had the tough conversations. You're not asking the right questions. You know what I'm saying? And even if he lasted 90 days, he may have been acting a fool the whole 90 days. Just because he's still around doesn't mean, oh, now it's time to move forward and get together that way. So to me, it's less about the 90 days specifically, and it's about the work that was supposed to be done in the 90 days. Now, if you complete that work in 30 days and you know what you're getting yourself into and you know what he wants and you guys are on the same page, y'all are grown adults. Y'all can make your choice. But again, it's not the specific time, it's the work. Now, as far as sex and dating, to me, I just think that people have to be honest with themselves about what they can handle. All right. We can go the spiritual route and say, wait till marriage, but we know realistically, most people ain't waiting. And so what I tell women is like, don't sleep with him until you're okay with what happens next. So if you sleep with him today and he doesn't call you tomorrow and you're going to feel cheated and robbed because he didn't call you, you shouldn't have slept with him. That means you slept with him for the wrong reasons. You slept with him because you were expecting something to come out of it. If you sleep with him in the dating phase, it better be because you just want to enjoy this experience. That's how you're feeling. I'm not saying you should feel that way, but that's your choice. And at least now, if things don't go as planned, you don't feel like, oh my gosh, you know, I cheated myself, I lost, you know what I'm saying? Because that can be very discouraging and send women down a negative spiral from there. You know what I'm saying? So to me, it's just be honest with yourself about that, but also be honest about how long you need to have clarity on what's going on here. Sex can cloud judgment. So if you jump in too fast, it can easily mess things up because now you start overlooking red flags that you shouldn't overlook. You know what I'm saying? And here's the crazy thing. People love to act like it's because it's good sex. There are tons, millions, hundreds of millions of women who have held on to men and it was bad sex. All right? The whole good sex thing is a cop-out. You became attached because emotionally you wanted to hold on to him, or by giving your body, you now become more emotionally attached to this man. And now it's of an investment you've made, and women struggle to walk away from their investments. You know what I'm saying? So you got to be real. What can you handle this without getting caught up?
So speaking of investment, I literally put a post up today that said, he told you he was not interested in anything serious. So why would you continue wasting your time trying to give him time to change his mind? And I think that's one thing that women, we do because we have this high hope. You know, we've already imagined us like having kids, walking down the aisle, all of the things. We've invested this time. And even though you have told me out of your mouth, this is not what you want, I'm not ready for this, this is not yada, 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 whatever you've told me, I'm just going to continue to invest, continue to give, continue to hope and pray and think that I can convince you to change your mind. And then I'm just going to be hurt and mad at you when you don't. So how do we get to the root of like, or is it possible for us to get to the root of like this men are from Mars, women are from Venus thing? Because I feel like we are so, like our communication is so bad because you're saying something and I'm hearing something completely different, or I'm hoping that you're saying what I want you to say, and if you're not, I can convince you to change your mind about it. What do we do about that?
So I said at this event I was at recently that too many women are more focused on how they feel than what he said. So he could say, I don't want a relationship, but if she feels, but we could be great together, she will hold on to that rather than his actual words. And I think that the key for men and women to get past this whole men are from Mars, women are from Venus, we have to start to understand we're not wired the same way. And what would do best is, if I'm a man, my goal is to get more emotionally in tune with you. Because I know that sometimes a woman is not going to always use her words to explain how she's feeling. She wants you to pick up on things because women pick up on things. Women see the details, so they want us to see the details. So we have to work on that. We won't ever be as good as women in most cases, but that's how we will be able to connect with her better. For women, she has to work on being more logical with her approach with him, all right? So he said this is what he said, now handle it this way. Do not let your emotions control you. You have to learn how to master your emotions. This is where the emotional intelligence comes in. And I think when women start to, again, it doesn't mean stop being a woman, because I want women to essentially walk in their feminine energy, tap into that energy. So I don't want you to go away from that. And embrace the fact that you're an emotional creature. But you have to learn how to turn on that logical mind in those moments where it's going to be applicable. The same way the logical man has to turn on that emotional mind, that being able to get in tune with the spirit in those moments that he needs it.
And it's just the craziest thing to me. And I know that you see this all the time, but you can have the most intelligent woman, like at the height of her career, a super successful businesswoman. But when it comes to the emotional side, when it comes to making decisions in relationship, it's like the logic, like you said, it goes out the window. Like all of those book smarts, when it come to your boo, it's like, no, forget what I know. I'm thinking about what I feel or what I want. And that is where we end up, getting ourselves in trouble. And then we blame them for what we allowed them to do.
Exactly. And that's why people who give great advice don't always take their own advice. Because once you become emotionally invested, it's like your brain gets scrambled. You just don't see straight anymore. So it's a struggle for everybody in that regard.
So one of the things that I think is super hard for women to accept, or it's a fact that they just might not know, so I want you to speak it. How do men see sex? What is sex to men? Because I say this all the time. Like, I have been blessed to have an older brother, the homeboys. I've had these conversations with several men. A lot of women have not had this conversation with a man or heard a man having this conversation. So from a man, how do men view sex?
All right, now real quick, I'm just going to say that there's always exceptions to the rule.
Go ahead and throw out the disclaimer.
And some men are going to see things differently. I think for the majority of men, sex is just viewed as a pleasurable experience. That's it, a pleasurable physical experience. There may be some emotion a little bit in that moment, but it stays in that moment for the most part. It's just not much more than that for the guy. Now, don't get me wrong. And when I say there's emotion involved, I think when he actually likes the woman, he's in love with her, then it becomes something more than just a physical experience, a chance to bond with her, get closer to her. But outside of that, yeah, it's just physical pleasure.
Do men have sex with women they don't like?
Hell yeah.
Look into that camera. Look into that camera and say it. Why? Why, Stephan?
Oh my
why?
God. Not only do men, now again, not all men, but not only do men have sex with women they don't like, there are tons of men who have sex with women they're not even attracted to.
So again, this is the men are from Mars, women are from Venus thing, because speaking for the majority of women, I can't even fathom a man on top of me that I don't like, I'm not interested in, I'm not attracted to. Like that, why would I do that? You all are totally...
Well, so
their heads are exploding right now, Stephan. Their heads are exploding.
So now, again, I'm one of those guys where I cannot sleep with someone I'm not attracted to. I'm very visual. I need that stimulation.
Thank
if that's
God, you
not
got
there,
some standards. Okay.
I can't do it. But I know dudes
that have none.
As long as you got legs and something in between, it's a wrap. Okay. And they will have sex out of the mere convenience of it in that moment. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Because again, it is simply a pleasurable physical experience. They're viewing that woman as a chance to get off. That's it. That's all it is. And so, yeah, and as far as not liking her, because the reality is that he only has to tolerate her for that moment in time. This is why he may have sex with you, but he won't be in a relationship with you.
He won't even pick up the phone the next day, baby.
He can't deal with you more than just that moment. But to engage physically, and again, in that physical moment, he doesn't have to worry about having talks with you and all this other stuff. So yeah, he can still enjoy you physically, but not care for you otherwise.
So we're going to pause. A moment of silence for y'all feelings and your edges. Okay.
Oh, boy.
But I think, though, that, again, that's a major disconnect because women a lot of times mistake men wanting to sleep with them with men wanting to date them or court them or be in a relationship. And so I hear, shout out to Kevin Samuels, all right? One of the things that Kevin Samuels says often that I do agree with, though, is that you cannot count the number of men who have tried to holler at you or try to have sex with you as the number of men who are interested in getting into a relationship with you. And so I think a lot of times women are mistaking one for the other and thinking, well, men are interested in me. I am a catch. And just because men are interested in sleeping with you does not mean that you are necessarily what men are looking for when it comes to a relationship.
Or
so
marriage.
What's the difference? What would make a man say, okay, I'll have sex with you, but that's as far as it'll go?
So, okay, there's various levels to it. For some men, it could be levels of physical attraction. So to put it in a more specific context so people can understand, if his standard for marriage is, I'm only going to marry a woman who's an 8 to 10 on a scale of 1 to 10, but he'll sleep with a 6. He'll sleep with a 5. You see what I'm saying? So there's enough, and maybe she's not that cute, but her body's banging. So he'll sleep with her because he really likes her body. He wants to try it out. I know that sounds horrible, but I'm just,
That's a real
it is
thing.
what it is.
Let me
Yeah.
put that in my notes because we gotta come back to that.
All right. But again, he's not attracted to her enough physically to say, I want to spend my life with her. Because again, it's one thing to have to see you for the night. It's nothing to have to wake up and see you every day next to me. That requires a different level of attraction. Then, of course, there's just the qualities of a wife. Some women, again, may be really cool. And you may even enjoy hanging out with them, but you know you cannot deal with them over the long term as far as marriage. And let me say this. The reality is that women see the same issue or go through the same thing with men. It's just that women are willing to overlook those red flags and still marry that man.
Yeah.
But then be miserable and unhappy. The man knows, like in a lot, don't get me wrong, plenty of men choose horribly wives and partners. But a lot, like I remember one time in an Uber, a guy said to me, he was the driver, he said, you hear in society, women are always being told the fantasy of the one, waiting for that right guy, all that stuff. But what you see play out in dating and relationships is that men tend to hold on to that principle more than women. All right. Women know of the one connection, but the minute they see something that they want, for whatever reason, yes, I will make this work because this is what I desire right now. Whereas men, if they're just not feeling it enough, they're just not going to do it. And that's why I tell women, it's not a reflection of your value or your quality. Y'all two just don't fit together. He can really see or view you as a good woman, just not for him.
So this is not a question that was on my list, but I just feel like because you're hurting feelings and snatching edges, we might as well just snatch the whole wig off. Because I have literally had a conversation with a man. I hope he's not tuned in. It's not my man, y'all. A man, not my man. But I've had a conversation with a man who has, going back to like the 90-day rule thing and men trying to fit into women thinking that they're being in control and, controlling how things are going, but men really having the big joker, like really, pulling the trump card. But I was having a conversation with a man who talked about a woman who had like a 90-day rule and she had verbalized it. Big mistake. So she talked to him about it. She's holding him to this standard and he literally told me, like, yeah, I just did what I had to do to get to the 90 days, just basically to get her back for playing games with him. Playing games with him. Like, he did all of the right things. Told me this out of his mouth, that he did all of the right things, had these conversations, like took her out, did all of the things to play the game. So what is your advice for women who are watching for the red flags, asking the questions, like thinking that they're doing their due diligence, and then they're just dealing with like a fraud?
So I'm very skeptical of any situation that proclaims that this man just fooled you the entire time. I always say a lot of times women don't get played, they play themselves. All right?
Girl, stop playing.
They see something. They pick up, and even if you can't say you saw something specific, they sense, yes, they felt like something's not right. But again, they try to ignore it. So to me, you've got to be strong as a woman in the sense of accepting your intuition. Stop denying it. Stop running from it. And if you're spiritual, you've got to go to God and pray about the situation and asking God, not just looking for signs, hearing it in your spirit, like, this is what I need to do right now. Because I don't think anyone's that good of a liar. I think that you let someone talk enough, they're going to expose themselves. You just have to know how to keep them talking. And so that requires conversations, asking questions, diving deeper, because it's very easy for people to either, when they give you a BS answer, you can sense it, or they just dance around the situation or dismiss it altogether. You know what I'm saying? So, and then there's just certain questions that men will and women will expose themselves on. Like if you ask a dude questions about handling finances in a relationship, he's very likely to tell you straight up what it is. So if you don't like the way that he does things, you don't have to keep guessing. You know what I'm saying? But you just have to have those conversations. But we tend, when I say we, society tends to be scared to dive deeper early on. It's like, well, I don't want to run this person away. Yeah, but it's like, yo, if they run away because you're diving deeper, they're not for you.
Exactly.
That's the way you weed them out.
Yep. And that was literally a question that I have here, because women do have such a hard time asking questions because they don't want to be annoying. They don't want to push too much. They don't want to turn you off. So how do you toe the line between being interested and being inquisitive and digging deep, but not like being annoying? Again,
annoying is a perception based off of likability. Basically meaning, let's look at it from a woman's perspective. If 10 guys DM a woman right now, hey, you're beautiful, right? And you look at them dudes, and all 10, they don't like them. So to you, they're annoying, they're thirsty, whatever. Mr. 11 says the same thing. Hey, beautiful. But you like this dude, and now you're flattered. This is cute. It's not the action. It's how much you like them, and as well when it comes to women, it's the energy that you're giving off when you're asking these questions.
That's true.
If you're asking with an energy of interrogation, of being hard and having an attitude, and that can happen when you ask the question because you're expecting a negative answer. You can't go into the conversation expecting something bad. You have to go in believe either clean slate or believing something positive, but prepared for something negative. You see what I'm saying? Because when you prepare for negative, you project that. And that's the energy that's making you come off annoying or what's wrong with her? Nah, she got problems and now I don't want to deal with her no more.
So